Good morning, church, and thanks for watching. I know that this is a little bit unusual for me to address everyone in the middle of the week in a video, but I think you'll see why as I kind of talk about what we're looking ahead to in this Sunday's message. This Sunday is going to include Luke chapter 4, where Jesus is tested and tempted in the wilderness, and we know that he was fasting during those 40 days. I don't know that fasting is a major part of the application to this message, but as I've been contemplating, I've thought about how fasting is an important spiritual practice that maybe we don't talk enough about. And so I'd like to talk about it and encourage everyone to consider fasting from food now, sometime during this week before we come to this passage on Sunday. Of course, only fast if you're physically able. I recognize that there are some of you in health circumstances where that would not be an advisable thing. But if you're physically able, I would really encourage you to consider fasting from a meal, maybe fasting for a day, and kind of using that as a way to prepare for this Sunday's message. And I'll kind of talk about what that means and what we can learn from fasting here in these next few minutes. Another verse that's important at the end of Luke 4 is that, I should say in Luke 4:13, when the devil had finished all this tempting, he left him until an opportune time. So what's interesting from that verse is that the devil used this opportune time of Jesus being alone in the wilderness and fasting to tempt him. And fasting and having purposeful solitude is a time of physical weakness and a time of mental weakness. I find that when I fast, I usually don't feel super hungry. Maybe I'm not fasting for long enough if I'm not feeling super hungry. But when I fast, what I feel the most is my mind just kind of declining. Like I don't feel sharp. I don't feel like when I'm communicating, I'm really making much sense. So, there's not only a physical hunger, but at least in my experience, like a mental dullness that comes during times of physical fasting. And I believe fasting can be used as kind of a mirror into your heart. Like when you fast, you're alert to notice the things that your heart yearns for. You're prone to notice the comforts that you snap reflex to find in your time of feeling empty or feeling like you're lacking and in need of something to quench and satisfy your soul and satisfy the craving that the lack of food has created. I found this quote in a spiritual disciplines book that I have. It says that fasting exposes how we try to keep empty hunger at bay and gain a sense of well-being by devouring creature comforts. Through self-denial, we begin to recognize what controls us. Our small denials of the self show us just how little taste we actually have for sacrifice or time with God. So here's the exhortation between now and Sunday. If you're physically able, fast. Maybe it's just fasting from a meal. Maybe it's fasting for a few meals or fasting for a day. Fast and use that time to pray and to really connect with God. And as you fast and pray, also use that as a time to meditate and journal about what comes up out of your heart during that time of fasting. Is it irritability? Is it a snap reflex to some other creature comfort? What is it that pops up out of your soul that you can recognize as God's way of refining you during that time period of fasting? And then also be alert to where you turn for comfort, because sometimes we turn to food, drink for comfort and relief from our pain or from our difficulties and our times of trouble. So, where do you turn for comfort? Where do you turn for relief in that time of temptation? I think fasting is just a really, really lost and beneficial spiritual practice for the church today. And so, give it a try, and you'll experience and observe what you learn from that spiritual practice if that's something that you can carve out time to do this coming week. So, looking forward to Sunday, and very excited. I'm hoping that the snow holds off for us. Kind of watching the weather right now, thinking, oh boy, we might be in for another one this Sunday. So we'll see how the forecast develops, and hopefully the snow holds off for the morning so that we can enjoy Baptism Sunday and actually be together this coming week.